Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you're a grad student, a PhD candidate, or just a focus learner gearing up to present your research, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to take that academic defense anxiety you might be feeling and completely transform it into structured, undeniable confidence. We're breaking down the exact playbook that top institutions and veteran dissertation chairs use to evaluate you. I mean, let's be real for a second. What are they going to ask me? When you look at your calendar and see that defense date creeping up, this is the core anxiety that literally paralyzes almost every graduate student. You walk in terrified of a pop quiz, right? You're afraid they're going to ask you to recite your entire document from memory. But here's the massive secret we're uncovering today. A defense is not a pop quiz. It's actually a completely predictable, structured conversation. To get you completely ready, here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, blueprinting your research synopsis. Second, designing high-impact visuals. Third, delivering your oral presentation. Fourth, predicting the defense questions. And finally, surviving the Q&A climax. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, blueprinting your research synopsis. Think of this synopsis as the foundation of your entire research journey. It's basically your rules of engagement. Now, to ground our advice in some real-world authority, let's look at the rigorous guidelines from the National University of Medical Sciences, or NUMS. Institutions like this, they have incredibly strict expectations. They want your synopsis submitted on A4 paper, typed in Times New Roman 12-point font with exactly 1.5 line spacing. Sounds super pedantic, doesn't it? But honestly, following these exact formatting rules is your very first test of academic discipline. It instantly signals to the committee that you respect the process. As for the actual content of that synopsis, it follows a really precise 4-step chronological progression. First step is the background. You've got to efficiently set the context of your research right there in a clear first paragraph. Second is the problem statement. This is where you pinpoint a specific gap in the current knowledge or healthcare system. Third, your objectives, basically justifying why your study is the answer to that gap. And fourth, your methodology, your actual concrete plan of attack. Your intro just has to flow logically through these steps so reviewers see exactly why your research matters right out of the gate. And hey, those objectives, they absolutely must be SMART. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. You need to use strong action verbs here, stuff like to determine or to compare. But listen, here is a massive trap you need to avoid. Do not be over-ambitious. Students are constantly warned against cramming too many objectives into their protocol. Trust me, a heavily focused, achievable study is always better than a sprawling, impossible one. Moving right along to Section 2, designing high-impact visuals. So, you've got your brilliant synopsis, right? Now we face the trial of translating all that dense academic text into clear slides that won't just put your committee to sleep. For this, we're leaning on the official presentation rules from the European Society of Clinical Pharmacy, or ESCP. These guidelines anchor our visual design rules in proven international scientific presentation standards. I mean, they evaluate hundreds of presentations, so they know exactly what works and what completely fails. And the absolute most crucial visual rule is simple. Less is more. Just focus on one idea per slide. The single most common problem with academic slides is just way too much clutter. You want to use simple fonts, think Arial or Calibri, in large 24 to 30-point sizes. And contrast is absolutely critical. Use dark-colored fonts on a light background. Seriously, never put yourself in a position where you have to stand there and say to the committee, I apologize if you can't read this. This whole philosophy actually builds into a very specific formula, the 5x5 rule. ESCP recommends having no more than 5 bullet points per slide and absolutely no more than 5 words per bullet point. Why does this matter? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. If you put a giant wall of text up there, your audience is going to immediately start reading it, and they will completely tune you out. Your slides are supposed to augment your voice, not replace it. That brings us to Section 3, delivering your oral presentation. Okay, you've got your pristine slides, now it's showtime. In most conferences and defenses, you only get a strict 10 to 15-minute window to impress a panel of notoriously stone-faced committee members. And wow, is there a stark difference between failure and success at the podium? A poor presentation? That's reading straight from a script, hiding behind the podium, zero eye contact. But a great presentation relies on a conversational style. You've got to practice out loud multiple times until it just sounds completely natural. Oh, and if you rehearse and realize you're running long, don't just talk faster, actually shorten your content. Embrace effective pauses, ditch those awkward filler words, and look directly at the people you're talking to. Next up, Section 4, Predicting the Defense Questions. All right, now we're entering the real climax of this academic journey. Remember that paralyzing fear of the pop quiz we talked about earlier? Well, this quote from Dr. Rolanda Anderson of Dissertation Gurus provides a massive mindset shift. She's sat on the approving side of the table for more than 75 studies. Her advice? Committees distrust students who claim no limitations far more than students who name theirs. I mean, that is a total aha moment. Acknowledging the boundaries and limitations of your study isn't a trap you're falling into, it is a sign of immense academic maturity. They aren't just testing your memory here, they're testing your ownership of your own decisions. Because the committee is just checking your logic, their questions are actually incredibly predictable. They pretty much always fall into these finite territories: opening overview, your problem and purpose, research questions, methodology, findings, and limitations. And honestly, methodology questions are the beating heart of most defenses. They want to know that your method was a deliberate choice, not some accident. So be ready to name the methodology you chose, confidently name the alternative you considered, and clearly explain exactly why your choice fit your research questions better. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Surviving the Q&A Climax. So what happens when things don't go perfectly? A committee member asks a curveball question and your mind just goes completely, utterly blank. Remember this one golden rule: never bluff. As highlighted in a fantastic breakdown by the YouTube channel Randyways Random, one of the absolutely fastest ways to lose your credibility isn't just saying, "I don't know." It's talking super fast, dropping vague academic jargon, and pretending you know the answer when you definitely don't. Experienced examiners, they spot a bluff instantly. And once you lose that trust, yeah, it is incredibly hard to get it back. But hold on, before you just panic and blurt out, "I don't know," you need to realize that a lot of the time, you actually do know the answer. It's just temporarily stuck because you're under pressure. So use these 3 stalling techniques. First, ask for clarification. Just say, "Could you please clarify what you mean by that?" Second, anchor it to your document. Ask, "Are you referring to the model on page 42? This shows you know your work while buying you a few precious seconds. And third, just pause and think. Taking 5 seconds of complete silence is vastly superior to 20 seconds of panicked rambling and over-apologizing. Okay, but if you do those 3 things and the answer still isn't there, you use the ABD strategy. This is a genuinely brilliant framework for handling impossible questions with calibrated honesty. A stands for acknowledgement. That is a really interesting and challenging question. B stands for boundary. However, that specific variable falls outside the scope of my current study. And D stands for direction. But based on the literature, I would expect future research to point in this general direction. You acknowledge the difficulty, you define the boundary of your work, and you point a direction forward. It shows them you can reason under fire without breaking a single sweat. I really want to leave you with this final, incredibly reassuring thought from Dr. Anderson. Your committee wants to pass you. Walk in ready. Don't stress. We will get through it. This is the absolute biggest thing you should take away from this explainer today. Your defense isn't an execution, okay? It's an initiation. By organizing your synopsis cleanly, stripping all that terrible clutter from your slides, anticipating the methodology questions, and using the ABD framework when you get stuck, you're showing them you are fully ready to be their peer. So I'll leave you with this. What specific limitation of your study are you going to proudly own in your defense? Think about it. Prep those answers out loud and go walk into that room with complete confidence.